Call our meeting to order, please.
Welcome.
And with that, we'll look for additions or deletions to the agenda. If none, we'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Support. Motion support. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed, no. Motion is carried. Thank you. Roll has been taken.
Yes, thank you.
We have roll. Next is Pledge of Allegiance. If our honor, please rise and join us in pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, thank you very much. And welcome, everyone. Next on our agenda would be the approval of the August 27, 2024 closed session meeting minutes, the September 10, 2024 regular meeting minutes, and the September 10, 2024 closed session meeting minutes. Your pleasure.
Move to approve all three.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Are there comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion is carried. Moving on to hearings. First up, we are to consider a resolution to reschedule a public hearing which was previously set for September 24, 2024 to Tuesday, October 8, 2024 at 6 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the agenda will allow. And this would be for consideration of an application for an obsolete property rehabilitation exemption application from Gemini Capital Management 9 LLC for the property located at 311 East Superior. Your pleasure.
Move to reset the hearing. Or reschedule.
Okay, we have motion support. Any comments or questions?
Just that we had reset it, the newspaper didn't get it in enough days, and we don't want to cause any issues with the application when it goes to the state of Michigan, so.
We do not.
And we reached out to the applicant and let them know and they're fine with moving it, so.
Anybody else, questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. And that motion is carried. Moving down to request for purchase, we are to consider a resolution to rescind resolution number 2024-0075 of March 26, 2024, which was approved at $375,000, which approved a $375,000 request for purchase and services agreement with Progressive AE, and to adopt a resolution to approve a request for purchase in the amount not to exceed $400,000, also to ratify the architectural and engineering services agreement with Progressive AE Incorporated. And this is for the Elma Transit Center building expansion. Your pleasure.
Move to approve.
Support. Motion support. Background?
Yep. When we originally approved the 375, that was the dollar amount that they had, put into their application, but there's another section in there that talks about a not to exceed number in case there's change orders and such. This money is completely funded by the state of Michigan. There was a $500,000 grant to do the architectural and engineering portion of it, but they will not exceed $400,000 for what we need there. So we wanted the PO to reflect what was actually in the agreement. So that's why it's in front of you again this evening.
Sounds good. Okay. Motion, any comments or questions? That seems like an awful lot of money for architectural drawings for basically a pole barn doing that.
Yeah, there's more to it than that.
Garage, though, right?
Yeah, there's some office space and other things that need to go along with it. The garage portion of it.
Do we need more office space?
Training room. There's not a training
So
room.
it's basically just gonna be one big room?
Yes,
We're not,
it'd be a training room. Then there's the actual maintenance bay area that's not current. We don't have a dedicated maintenance bay area right now. And then the storage area for the buses itself.
all right.
It'll also be rented out for weddings.
Hey, barn weddings are popular these days, you know?
Can ride on the bus?
Yeah,
The state of
right on the
Michigan
bus.
did, review these and make sure that they were within the scope of what is acceptable for us, this type of facility, this type of project. So
Yeah.
it's just things are just cost.
We know how state funding goes. They can, contractors go along with that, they know too. All right, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to resolutions. We have to consider a resolution to ratify the following investments for the city funds. And we have before us two CDARS investments with Isabel Bank and one U.S. Treasury purchase from Fifth Third Securities. Your pleasure.
Move to approve.
Support. We have a motion and support. Any comments or questions?
Just that we're
Criticism
still,
here, so-
no, just that we're still hitting some decent interest rates. We'll see how much longer that holds up. But so far, so good.
I do have a question. If I abstain, the just majority, right?
I don't know. I will go with that one up.
Okay, well, I will not abstain, but I will, if in full disclosure, I will let everybody know I do work for Isabella Bank, so
In full disclosure, we separate them all around to so many other banks and credit.
I know Curtis does a good job of being
I know.
fair with his bidding and everything, but I just, normally I do abstain if.
I know.
That's
but
fair.
because of the
We
people here.
appreciate that.
Okay, so all those in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed, no. The motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to agreements. We are to consider a resolution to approve the Michigan Department of Transportation contract number 2024-0261 for the state trunk line maintenance contract, which is for the period of October 1, 2024 through September 30, 2029. This will also designate the Public Service Director as contract administrator, street maintenance superintendent, signal/electrical superintendent, and storm sewer superintendent for the purpose of administration and budgetary provisions of the contract.
Wow. I'd ask for more money if I were you. Move to approve.
Support.
Okay, we got a motion support.
This is a 5-year contract. This is how we get our money for the maintenance and work that we do on 127
Okay.
from our city limits to our city limits to the north, east to north.
Can this get us a patch down by J&J Standard where that rut is that we keep going through?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, Dave. I'm
Yeah.
just curious. I'm getting tired of
Yeah,
that
that's
thing.
pretty
I don't know about the rest of you.
Right on a bus.
Yeah, it sounds like fun. Okay, anybody else got comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. And that motion is carried. Thank you. Number 2, we are considering a resolution to terminate the project development agreement, the PDA, with Johnson Controls regarding the CWSRF project related to wastewater treatment plant upgrades. Following careful consideration of a notice from the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes Energy, which is EGLE, that the city of Elma did not score within the funding priority range for the 2024 funding cycle, and also to approve payment of costs accrued to date in relation to the preparation of the CWSRF application.
Move to approve.
Support. Okay, with motion support.
Yep.
We already got the bad news.
Yep, it's bad
Want to
news.
expand on that?
Yeah, we did, yeah. We did not score high enough. We were not close really at all for the funding cycle for the clean water SRF funding. A few months back, we had Johnson Control here to talk about a performance-based contract, and so that we did need an engineer anyway to develop the application to even submit. So we were going to have a sunk cost of this amount to submit the application, no matter if we went with Johnson Controls or another engineering firm. But what was beyond this, if we were successful, that we were going to continue on with a much larger project than just what we think we may be able to do, and we'll be coming back to the commission to talk about that. But since we didn't score high enough to move forward, performance-based bidding, it's not really a bidding process, but the performance-based process really doesn't provide enough positives to back to you from the standpoint of you don't get guarantees because the project's not large enough to make it work. And the energy efficiencies, when you're just doing clarifiers, there's not enough energy efficiencies there to really make that worthwhile. So our recommendation is that we, this is one of those pathways where we get off the process right here, pay them for the application, and then we'll regroup and come back to you about where we go next with improvements at the plant.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed, no. The motion is carried. Thank you. Reports of officers, boards, and committees. Tonight we have one report before us, which is the city manager's report, and any commissioner may remove the item within the section for individual discussion and vote if you choose. Your pleasure.
I didn't remember at the beginning to ask for the water authority report. Should I just say that during my public comment, since I didn't ask the agenda?
Sure. Oh, we didn't. Yeah, we didn't add. You can. Yeah,
You can do it for public comment or during a commissioner comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Move to receive the city manager report. Support.
Okay, we have a motion support. Eric?
Just two things. So we already talked about the clean water SRF application. Now back to drinking water SRF projects. Crawford Contracting received the bids for our local streets for the drinking water SRF. They would like to get started here the week of October 7th or 14th on two different streets. One would be Chatterton, and that's just a water main, and that's located in just the terrace, so it's no messing with the street or anything like that. The other one's going to be a lot more invasive and a lot more work to be done, which is on our Moyer Street project, which is a complete replacing of the water main, sewer main, sanitary, and they would like to get started. We wouldn't be able to resurface this year, but it puts they figure they can probably get those items completed. Consumers can't get into the area any earlier than this winter to put that in their gas line. But if we can get that work done now, that puts Crawford in a much better position when we hit spring with all the 4 other streets that they need to do. And plus at that point, we can get the surface put on in a timely manner in April and May, whenever the asphalt plant's open. So if the commission is amenable to getting that started, contracts have all been signed, we've approved all these projects. We'd like to schedule that with Crawford and then schedule with the neighborhoods to sit down with them and talk about the project timings, schedules, who to talk to, and they're up front of my driveway right now. Who do I talk to about getting in and out, that sort of thing. We'll get going on that right away. So
It's the Eric hotline, right? For like completion.
Yes. Well, typically, right now, we do have the help of OHM, because we did hire them to help with oversight, but also Christine Saya, and then David also will answer those questions too. So, but I think it's probably in our best interest to get started and put Crawford in a better position to make sure we get this done.
Absolutely.
Can Chatterton be made drivable?
Yeah, we won't be in the roadway to cause any problems with the street itself, so.
Oh, I thought it was. I mean Moyer.
Moyer, it will be drivable. People will be able to drive through and get to their house.
But it'll be dirt.
Yeah,
It'll be dirt, yeah. But can it be plowed?
Yeah, it will be plowed.
Just to answer something, I'm Dave Ring, the Public Services Director. Chatterton, that one, that area was just redone, well, just because of the sanitary sewer project. There's 2 reasons to do that, is I think we just got done with construction with it this year. It shouldn't be too terrible for everybody just to do it in the same year. Okay, so we've already done it this spring, come back into this fall and yet do it. That's a project that's very quick. The main reason though for is we're gonna have 2 different contractors potentially working at the exact same time, because Pine Avenue is likely gonna start in April. If we start though in the water main project and Pine Avenue at the same time, they're gonna be 2 companies potentially conflicting with one another. We can get in, get the water main, move out, then Pine Avenue's contractor can start, and they'll have the new water main to connect to, and there won't be any redundancies for cutting out maybe 5 or 10 feet of new pipe or anything of that nature. So the new line will be there ready to connect to when Pine starts.
Thank you. Good. Thank you, Dave.
Anything else you want to add for Moyer while you're up there, Dave?
Moyer Street, the idea is the contractors right now have a big wide open schedule coming up here in the next 2 weeks, so they're wanting to start, get up and going. The idea would be to replace all the utilities, get the road graded, and have it set for winter, just because there is no time there's just not enough time in the year, because you're gonna have rain days, that type of thing at this time of year. What we would do is have the road graded, consumers will come in, and they're projecting January to put in the new gas main. Once that's done, you do road grading, and then the new surface will be applied in the early spring. So it'd be a good place to start, because there are so many projects up and going. That one's kind of not along the beaten path or anything. It's a local street, so really shouldn't affect traffic, and I am more than confident that the residents down there are going to be excited for this. But as Eric mentioned, I don't want to send out a letter inviting anyone to a street neighborhood meeting if we're not going to do it this fall. But if we are, the letters are ready to go out tomorrow to invite everybody to a meeting. So.
Thank you.
Questions? My only question, I guess, is, with all the projects going on everywhere, a lot of funding has come out recently. why are these contractors, why do they have time? Did they just, because of the weather, we had no rain this summer, they're ahead of schedule? on things?
Projects are drying up for the year that they've had. I know of 3 contractors right now that are looking for work this fall. They're in a holding pattern until next year, so the municipalities that were fortunate enough to get the SRF funding, I know St. Louis is looking to start theirs as well this fall, so there's a dead spot in the schedule, and there's a lot of, at least road builders right now, there's a few that are looking for work, so.
Okay.
Well, if the commission's okay with that, we'll get rolling on the neighborhood street stuff, get a hold of the contractor and get things moving.
See any reason not to?
Yeah, I was contacted by one resident in this stretch of Moyer that's very eager to start.
I know 4 that are on the frequent flyer.
There you go, there you go.
So yeah, I'm very confident that they're gonna be excited to see something happen there,
Yeah.
so that was a good opportunity to throw out those streets.
All right, well, we'll get going on that then. And then the last thing I want to mention, we talked about this, the speed trailers that we purchased that we're putting up to get some, basically it's data on how quickly people are traveling through different streets. Currently, we have one of them on Pine Avenue facing to the north as you come around to the middle school, and then one on Loose Road as you come in from the north by Loose Road School. We did have this speed trailer up, and we did purchase these at a very big discount from another community. So $2,500 to bring those in.
Collect information?
Yes.
No, I didn't know that. I thought it was just kind of warn people.
Yeah, that's SD card in there.
Well, that's-
Warning, yes, and then also taking in how quickly people are coming in.
Right.
So we're able to
It's not
track.
taking down license numbers.
No, it's not taking down, there's no cameras or anything like that.
I'm not saying.
But some people think.
nervous out there?
No, I just didn't know that that was a feature. That's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, that gives you, I mean, I think it's great to remind people to slow down, but I didn't know that it was able to keep data about the speeds people are racing through there.
And what we're hoping, also not hoping, but that's what we're gonna do with this, and as we said in the newsletter, we had it out there just under a month, from July to August, and we were able to look at, 10,000, just about 11,000 cars come through Iowa there. Looking at the typical enforcement speed of 35, and when I talk with the police, what that means is if they clock someone doing 35 miles an hour, that person's getting a speeding ticket, no warnings, no anything like that. Hey, you're not a frequent flyer, you just get a ticket, that sort of thing. There's no warnings like that. And of those 10,986 cars that were sampled as they went by that speed trailer, only 25 of them broke that scenario. So, less.
A small percentage.
Yeah,
That's the road that our
0.22%.
friend regularly is concerned.
Yes.
Okay, good to know.
Then we looked at from 6 to 10 miles over, so it's 25 miles an hour in that area, so anything 26 miles an hour up to 35 miles an hour. And of those 10, just under 11,000 vehicles, 115 of those vehicles were in violation of that scenario. So, you're looking at both those scenarios put together, we're looking at 1.22% of those of that 10,000, almost 11,000 vehicle sample that were in violation of the 25 mile an hour speed limit. Looking at the average of the speed, of the speed going through that area of all those almost 11,000 folks, we're at 22.04 miles per hour. So on average, folks are actually driving below the speed limit as they go through that area. Obviously, if you see those 25, then it's going to feel like it's always that way. But we're gonna move this around so we can get a good feel for what our general speeds are through other neighborhood streets, not just one. This one is a collector. This is also used by, like the public safety director mentioned to me, this is a way even our emergency vehicles, be it police or EMS or fire, gets to that side of town, say Charles Street Apartments. So if there's something going on there, it's a through street. It's a through street. Yeah. So you would probably, some of those higher speeds that are 35 and above,
Probably that.
Our fire department will go through there to get to Charles?
going to the Charles Street Apartments, that was,
Doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
well, that's what
Okay.
it's informed of.
Yeah.
But it's not a lot anyway. We're talking about 25 vehicles out of
Yeah.
11,000 vehicles. in that time period. So for the most part, people are definitely obeying the 25 mile an hour speed limit all through there. And like I said, we're gonna continue to move these around. We'll bring other numbers to you so we can get a feel for what other neighborhood streets look like and compare the two. Then you'll be able to, or 3 or 4, and you'll be able to see that, okay, there's not necessarily more speeding in this particular neighborhood street or another one. And if there is, then we should look deeper at that. But these are some raw numbers that give you, like I said, it's a large sampling.
Yeah, that's great.
And hopefully, it will give us better ideas of where to effectively put some patrols here and there to crack down on some speeding. So, but that's all I have for the evening, folks.
Questions for Eric? Hey, well, and your data, I like that, because I like to have numbers to base decisions on, that's always good. That data is all, since we redid that street, so it's all since the thing's smooth and
Yes.
flat and...
Yes.
And
It was this
narrower,
July.
So supposedly it slows them down.
What's that?
Narrower, so that supposedly that slows them down.
We have cars parked on each side of the street.
But we didn't narrow that, did we?
No, we
No,
didn't.
but
Oh, but we
parking on
added
both
that.
sides.
Well, I was
on
thinking
one side.
about
And when
it.
it
It's a
moved to
wide
the,
street.
moved to the other side.
No, I was thinking of the by the middle school.
But
Sorry.
it just, when it is smoother, it feels.
You speed up, yeah.
Speed up. It
I mean,
feels
that's natural.
faster. And that's the ironic thing that I got a complaint about here recently was the railroad crossing on Iowa Street, that it's gotta slow down and go across it.
Yes.
So I was like, I can't
Yes.
win. They're going too fast. And they're going, you gotta slow down too much. But I think this gives, and if need be, we can take that trailer out and run this area again to get some other numbers at a different time also. But this is what's really going on out there. It's sitting out there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for those days, not just having an officer. 'Cause we did a few years ago, we had an officer go sit out
Right.
a number of times and just
Yes.
do an hour or two, because they can't sit there for 4 hours. They have to go do other things.
And the other complaints.
Yeah, so this, I think, gives you at least a good
great.
baseline to look at, and we'll continue to bring numbers to you, looking at other streets.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have a motion to receive the report on the table. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. That motion is carried. We've received the report. Thank you. Moving on to new business. We are to receive a report from the Elma Housing Commission regarding a request to separate administration from the city of Elma. Your pleasure.
Oh, move to,
Move to receive.
yes.
Move to receive, okay.
Like it's a team effort.
We can get
Like,
support?
move.
Good afternoon.
Hang on a second. Did you get support? Did anybody say that?
motions, but.
I didn't hear a support. That's what I was curious.
If I'm not the motion.
You made the motion.
You made the
I'll
motion.
support.
Roxanne, support.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric. I am the Executive Director for the Alma Housing Commission. And as it's been presented to you, a request to separate our benefits from the city. So I was posed with some questions, and I don't know if it's appropriate to go over those questions and give my answers.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the questions that I was given from Eric were, what are the goals in separation? How will it allow the Housing Commission to run more effectively, efficiently for the benefit of the Alma community? There are no internal service charges for the city to the Housing Commission, at least since 2008, based on records we have. So my response to that was the goal of the Alma Housing Commission separation from the city is to ensure and enhance HC staff benefits. With separation, we are able to offer a more diverse and beneficial retirement and health benefit package to current and future employees. Separation from the city will not effectively change the HC services to the Alma City or Gratiot County community. The Alma Housing Commission will always ensure effective, efficient operations, which has direct and indirect impacts on the community we serve. The second question posed was, does the separation allow the Housing Commission to have the opportunity to apply or create additional housing options? It's kind of a tricky question. But the separation would not create any additional housing. And the reason that is, I'll just kind of go off script here. We're under what's called an ACC contract with HUD. They've only allowed a certain number of public housing units within the city, and that's they're not going to increase their inventory. There are other options to enhance housing. That would be through the Housing Choice Voucher Program. And I think with work with the city, we can kind of incentivize some landlords in the area to maybe participate in the Housing Choice Voucher Program. And that's a discussion we can have at a later time. So the AHC will continue to promote and enhance current programs with HUD guidelines and regulations. As a high-performing housing commission, we will continue to support the community by providing safe, sanitary, affordable housing opportunities to families within our city and our county jurisdiction. The last question was, the Housing Commission has a large fund balance. What is or can be done with these funds to provide additional housing in the Alma community? If it can't, what are the HUD requirements preventing the use? Again, that goes back to the ACC contract that we had with HUD. They only allow so many housing and so many units within this community, and their funding source is based on that number. So the fund balances are considered federal funds and the strict regulatory and reporting requirements. The reserve funds are allocated for operational use in case of budgeting shortfall during a given year. To elaborate, we have to have 6 months of operational funds retained at all times. And then also any emergency reserves to do any sort of emergency repairs, necessary repairs. The reserve funds are allocated for operational use in the case of budgeting shortfall during a given year. The funds are for current program use only. If future federal regulation and program community development allows, the AHC would expand and enhance its programs and services to the surrounding community. Our annual contribution contract with HUD prevents us from increasing our public housing inventory of 54 family, 30 senior units at this time. The AHC will continue to promote its Section 8 new construction and Housing Choice Voucher Program, encouraging city and countywide landlord-resident participation. The Alma Housing Commission will continue to enhance, modernize, and maintain its properties and services to the high standards. Our continued efforts to set high standard for safe, sanitary, affordable housing within the community ensures and promotes community-wide housing standards and surrounding landlord and management companies alike. So I did reach out to HUD and try to get some verbiage for you as far as the regulations. I know that was kind of a major concern, was we have these large fund balances and why aren't we utilizing them to create more housing for our community? So like I said, we have 3 different programs. We operate a public housing program. We have a Section 8 new construction, which is the building that you actually own that we manage, Tartan Terrace, if you're familiar with that. And then we also have what's called a Housing Choice Voucher Program. Housing Choice Voucher Program allows the tenant to be qualified through the program requirements and rent from a private landlord. We're allowed 67 vouchers within Gratiot County. So that would be the program that I would encourage in future conversations with the city, that maybe we can build some sort of incentivized for the landlords in the city by maybe reducing some of their inspection fees, reducing their licensing fees if they were to have a housing choice voucher participant in their household. So the Department of Housing, I have my direct contact is Jana McWhite. This is the Detroit field office. I posed to her the questions that you had. I wanted to ask her what the verbiage was that I should express to you when it pertains to the funds that we have available. Her response to me was, for public housing purposes, reserve funds capitalized or replenished with public housing funds must be used for public housing purposes. This means they can't be used for debt repayment or deferred development fees. Operating subsidy of tenant rents, reserve funds funding with operating subsidy or tenant rents can only be used for expenses that are eligible uses of operating subsidy or public funds. Capital improvement funds, which is our CFP funds, those funds are basically set aside for modernization purposes. So every year we do an annual plan and we get a set number of dollars and we use those to put new roofs in, appliances, floor coverings, paint, windows, all of those types of things. So public housing agencies, PHAs, can use operating reserves that exceed the HUD recommended minimal for capital improvements, but not for large modernization projects. A large modernization rehabilitation project is defined as a project where the total project costs are more than 80% of the applicable total development cost. And then replacement reserve funds, projects with the operating loss loan or supplemental loan, which doesn't apply to us, that is insured or held by HUD must keep all reserve funds interest earned in the respective funds. Owners of Section 202, 162, 801, and 811 projects are instructed to invest all of the substantial portion of their reserve funds for replacements. And that is it, the response that I have. Do you have any questions? I guess I'll open. I know it's 11.
Of that 78 or 87 vouchers, how many of those do you use? Or
We have 67 vouchers that were allotted. Currently, we're at 47.
so are there, you said something about us trying to make it more likely that privately owned places would utilize those. Do we have enough even units available for people? I just know from where I am at the elementary school, there's a lot of people looking for places to live, and do we have, I mean, if we were to encourage them, they have enough empty units that...
I believe so. I believe the issue that we run in with the Housing Choice Voucher Program is that landlords are often they assume that the Housing Commission has done this thorough background screening and are giving them suitable tenants, right, to rent their units. But in fact, what's expected of the landlord is to do due diligence and do their own. So the encouragement portion of this that I think that there's some room for is to maybe, we have to inspect these units annually. Maybe they don't have to pay for the city to do the inspection. The Housing Commission would do it for them. So they would, I don't know if that's a built-in fee into their licensing or if that's a separate fee. I'm not sure how that operates. But also maybe, forego the licensing fee for the year, if that's a thing, and if they have a Housing Choice Voucher.
It's very small. It's $40.
Oh, I thought you meant having the inspection, because we want to do that. Or have somebody do that, right? I mean, that was
we have to have
the incentive to get places up to suitable living.
And the Housing Commission does those inspections, So things of that nature to try to encourage the Housing Choice Voucher.
I just wanted to know if we even had enough that it was...
I think we do. I think that it's just getting landlords to participate.
Is there additional work for the landlords, paperwork and filings and whatnot? Is that discouraging a landlord from participating in this at all?
No, the landlord themselves, they're going through the process of application. They should be screening their tenants for back landlord references and those types of things. We do a fairly thorough job of background check. But it really falls on the landlord. The Housing Commission, when it comes to Housing Choice Voucher, we are just the payee. We pay them a portion. So the tenant pays up to 30% of their income, adjusted income. We make up the difference to whatever the contract rent is. The HUD sets a fair market rent every single year. This is how much we can charge. We're allowed to do 110% of that number, which we're currently doing. And what's happening in Elma is the rents are well and above, in excess of that. Close to 120 to 130%.
How much?
120 to 130%.
So substantially more than what HUD is allowing. And why does HUD list us so low?
I don't know. I couldn't answer that for you. I think, oftentimes they're 5 years behind in the use of census, so it's just behind. So that's why we use 110%. I can't get 120% approval, but quite honestly, it's still not going to be enough. So what typically happens is a landlord will contact us and they'll fill out what's called a RAPTA, and they submit it to us, and that says how much they want for rent, what the tenant's paying in utility allowance and whatnot. And then we start the negotiation process if they're over and above our payment standard. And oftentimes they'll come down. Countryside is one of the biggest players for us in Housing Choice Voucher currently. So, but I think there's some room for enhancement there. I think if a collaboration between the Housing Commission and the city, I think there's some sort of encouragement. another thing too, and this might be getting off point, but I think it'd be helpful to mention is that the city currently holds the landlord for any back utility amounts that are racked up by the tenant. The landlord has to pay them. Somebody moves out with a large water bill, the landlord has to pay it. That's pretty discouraging. Why would you rent? Why would you be a landlord? I mean, oftentimes you get hit with, hundreds and thousands of dollars in repairs, and on top of that, you have to pay this water bill for an individual. So I think that's something else to look at too. Just my opinion. So, any other questions?
Okay. Other questions?
Yeah, I have a couple because I'm not understanding this whole transfer of stuff. First of all, the Housing Commission has benefits?
We share benefits to the city, correct?
What benefits?
So we have a pension, we share an MERS pension, we also have health and dental, and
You get health and dental?
correct, yes,
Who's paying for that?
the housing.
This is for the employees of the housing company.
It is.
Correct.
We do pay.
Yeah, they're employees, just like all
Okay.
normal employees.
Okay.
We reimburse for all of those.
Okay. I did not know that.
You're not a volunteer organization.
No.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so everything that's, so currently with the city processes our payroll, and in the payroll, there's deductions for the pension plan, 457 if somebody's participating, and then also the health benefits, the dental, the health reimbursement account, if that's, yeah.
So that's not a benefit to the Housing Commission to have the city helping with those things? You have people that would do that as part of their job if you separated from the city?
Correct, yes. Yeah. In all reality, we're freeing up resources for the city and somebody's time. You wouldn't have to process our payroll.
So,
You don't have to.
I guess the gist of it is, from what I've heard and read so far, is apparently you feel your wage and benefit package is inadequate or below market.
No, I don't believe it's inadequate. But what I do hope that the Housing Commission has control, and we're able to determine what's best for the staff of the Housing Commission. There's nothing inadequate about the benefits package other than it's driven by your budget. I'm sorry. Your budget determines what's offered to your employees. Is that fair to say?
Certainly.
So, I mean, if we can offer better, or if we have to reduce it even, we'd have that option if we had control over it.
And we cannot do that now? I mean, what's the restrictions on how we are currently administrating or setting their benefits and wages?
I don't have the funds that they have.
Right.
That's it. I mean, that's really comes down to.
But I mean, as far as somebody making, your wage being $17 an hour versus somebody's wage is $18 an hour, is there anything that precludes us from allowing that wage to be changed?
No.
So I guess I don't understand what we're solving here. It's not going to help the housing situation. It's not going to add any additional services. If you need to get your wages changed, if you think the wages are inadequate,
It's not the wages that I think are inadequate.
it's the benefits then.
It's the benefits is what I want to
Two things we're
look
talking
at.
about, right?
So I want to
Wages
ensure for future that the pension remains the same. And it's based on the Housing Commission's decisions, not the city's decisions. The same thing with the health benefits. That's the ultimate goal. And I also want to state, I think it's a good time to state that we are the minority as a housing commission to be connected with the city. Most housing commissions are separate from the city. You have Cadillac, you have St. Louis Housing, you have Mount Pleasant Housing, Flint, Saginaw, Grand Rapids, Detroit. They're all separate from the city. We are the minority. This isn't unusual and it's unusual the fact that we're still connected in the city in the sense that the city dictates what benefits packages the Housing Commission has.
But what I'm hearing is that if you wanted to change that, you could just come and ask Eric and...
That's not the
we
case.
could
I
make a
did do
change.
that. That's not the case.
That is not the case. What precludes that from happening?
Well, they're under an employee of the city. so
Could they not be segregated out though under that same program? I mean, we now have certain groups that are segregated out, police officers.
They do have their own pension division
Okay.
that they pay into separately. We don't put any money into their pension division. It all comes from the housing commission. That's all separated right now. And when you do the healthcare, it's all one, you're an employee, you're all getting the employee healthcare. So you're under the same rules, and the employees pay their premiums, their pension, their portion per month, their paychecks. Because if you go through that and just, you're doing that separately, then they're doing their own thing anyway, if you're doing something completely different.
Yeah, it's not an option, and I get it. I mean, it's when you're dealing with insurance companies, they're just going to give you, whatever plan fits the entire group, and that's what's happening. I did approach Eric with those questions in March, is when we started this process.
So if you did a study, you named other housing commissions that are in the area. Are benefit packages substantially lower than what those other commissions are being paid, or the other employees of those other commissions?
It's a smorgasbord. I mean, they're all over. Some don't have a pension, some just a 457 or a 401k as a retirement. As far as insurance goes, that's the privately insured. We actually checked with General Agency in Mount Pleasant and got a quote from them. For the cost, it's almost identical to what we currently pay with the city.
So what's to be gained if you're...
Control. That's it. That's the bottom line.
Okay, I guess I don't know why we would want to give up any control for no gain whatsoever. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, what do you have to lose? I mean, what do you gain?
I don't know, but right now,
Well,
if I've got control,
right.
I've got control to lose, right? I mean, if there's something that can change or can be changed by us or controlled by us that we don't care for, or perhaps could benefit the city in a different way, I don't know why this board would want to give that option up. I mean, if you came to this board and said, we can, do X for the city that's not being done now, it opens up programs, we can participate in this, we can do that, we can make something better, that's a different conversation in my mind than we just want control. I don't change, why go through the bother of changing anything just for that simple reason?
I guess I don't understand what the change would be.
And I don't understand why we should change, so I think we're
Right.
probably the loggerhead on that one. I I haven't seen a case that makes me say anything that would make me want to vote for a change at this point.
And I guess I don't understand what control, but when you're saying it's basically the same thing, what is it that you're worried about controlling that you don't have control of right now?
Well, I think my biggest concern is that, the pension is my biggest concern. So, I know that there's been discussion, I assume there's been discussion how you cut your liability and how you look at the pension, and maybe it's probably got to be one of your biggest expenses. So my concern is that when the city is making decisions that are based on its budget and its budgetary constraints, that concerns me.
But what could you do, because you said with the money that the only thing you can provide with that is housing, so where does the money come from that you would be able to have more of a pension than if you were under the city's umbrella?
It would be from operations, from our subsidies, our rental incomes, and our CIP grants. So we receive a lot of funding for the programs. And I'm not necessarily saying that any of that would change. It really, it's whatever we can afford, what we can budget is what would be.
And so that's where, what I'm not understanding is that it seems to me that being part of a larger organization that you would have more options, but you're saying you don't.
We don't.
That you would get the same coverage because I know me going out by myself am not going to get the same coverage or benefits as being part of a big unit. So that's where my concern is. And if you've done that research, that's what I'd like to, it seems like I understand control and why you would want that. I get that. I don't understand why we wouldn't want to keep you with us, but I also don't understand how it's a benefit to your, I don't know how many employees you have, but I don't think you're
How
very
many employees
large.
are there?
We have 6 employees.
Six, and so I feel like 6 is not gonna get,
It's actually about the same cost. An apples to apples comparison for the city, what the city offers and what I can currently get is the same cost.
so you'd want to add all that extra work to the 6 people to be doing payroll and,
It's really not a lot of extra work. I mean, it's, you hire an agent, they,
well, I know how much work it all is. I mean, it's enough for me just at Loose Road managing those people, so that's why I think that there is a lot of work.
Well, there's certainly the cost of doing that,
Yeah.
if you're going to do that, and quite frankly, I would be more inclined to have the city continue as it is and administer some sort of a fee for the services that we currently and have been providing for you
nothing.
historically for no charge over the last X number of years. I mean, that seems like it makes more sense to me. We've got staff in place, I've got an accounting team, I've got the city manager, I've got all kinds of oversight in place, we've got a system in place that's doing it, experienced, knowledgeable, apparently doing a good job delivering what you think you can get right now in the marketplace. Why wouldn't we go that route?
well, the only services the city currently provides to the Housing Commission would be you appoint our board and oversight for, we use your wage scale. That's it. That's the city's extent when it comes to the Housing Commission.
We're not doing payroll for you.
No, you are. You currently are.
Okay, so there isn't other...
But those aren't requirements of the city, and they're not requirements of the housing.
No, but it's a service we're providing you and have been
It is.
providing you at no charge that we could actually charge you for.
Yep, that's correct. You could, or I could go out and I could seek my own and pay for
You
this.
can do that right now on your own without any approval from us.
That's the reality of it. yes. And I don't want to,
But your board may change overnight if that were to happen.
well, and I understand
Good,
that.
right?
and you
Is
have
that true? Okay.
But, I wanted to do this amicably. We started this in March with Eric. Eric and I had a conversation regarding it. And it just, nothing happened, nothing transpired until we lawyered up and we sent a letter to Eric, to the city. So we don't want this to go south. Nobody wants this. We have to work together. We're both in the same town here, right?
Absolutely. I'm not looking for a fight either, but I
Right, I'm
just
not
don't
either.
see why we change anything for absolutely no benefits. Would you like to go to the podium? I assume you're part of you're the...
This is Craig. He's our chair.
I'm Craig Cease, I'm
You're
the president and
okay.
the chair of the Housing Commission. I think what comes down to is options. We have no options at this point. I've been on the committee now commission for probably over 20 years. I guess we're looking at the future. We would like to have control over the options, getting back to the control. With 6 individuals, they're certified nationally. Even our maintenance department, they go through trainings, they have to qualify. We do a lot of things in-house. I think we should be investing in employees. And at this point, we don't have those options to consider what would be the benefits. And so, again, we're not doing anything different. We are the exception, not the rule, with the separation from the cities. And I think this is, that's why we're going down this direction. It's just really so we can have options. We're a high-performing PHA. We're holding excellent standards with HUD. That's why we are given money, because we are a high-performing PHA. They have extremely, their qualifications. That's why Eric is on top of things with the qualifications of how that money can be used. We just like to have options. And again, I've been involved with the housing on the board for some time here. Before that, I was on the St. Louis Housing Commission. And again, they went through the same situation. And we just like to have options to be able to do that with health insurance and MERS.
And I guess, Craig, I'd be more inclined to be in favor of this if you were coming to me and he had a case presented that said, here's the options we'd like to take, and we can't do this because something, whatever it may be, whether it's our budget or our attitude or whatever, is preventing you from doing X, Y, or Z. But just to say we want more options in the future, undefined, why change anything for some perceived undefined future event? I struggle with that. If you had a defined event, say, if you come to me and say, I cannot provide market wages and benefits to our team because the city budget is preventing that from happening. That's not what I'm hearing. It's a different conversation in my mind.
So I have a statement, and then I guess I'll...
Sure.
Okay. So the Elma Housing Commission was established in 1974 by the city of Elma to create affordable housing in this community. The Housing Commission has a staff of 6, administers 3 different HUD programs to address the local need for affordable housing. The Housing Commission's primary goal and mission statement is to provide safe, sanitary, affordable housing. The commitment to our community is unwavering, and the separation from the city in no way will affect the operation of the Housing Commission. Our ultimate goal is to complete the separation in the most amicable way possible. The separation of administration and benefit package so the city allows the Elma Housing Commission to ensure and continue future pension and health benefits package. With separation, the Housing Commission would have the ability to shop the market and determine what is affordable, reflective of its own budgetary allowances and constraints. The Housing Commission's administration realizes that in order to maintain current and future employees, it is imperative to be proactive and competitive in the current and future job market. In order to recruit skilled, effective, efficient, long-term oriented employees, we must be able to adjust to current market trends. Again, it is my hope that we can complete the separation in the most amicable way possible, working together to ensure continued success in the community we both serve. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I hope we can remain amicable and friends on this. I think we both do, or all do, have the best interests of our community at heart. If circumstances change and you have a case that can look different or convince me otherwise, I think, I invite you to come back anytime. I think my opinion of your Housing Commission, the work you do in the community is great. I mean, I have no fault with what's going on. I'm just not clear on why we would want to do this.
Understand.
And I don't know if others have comments. Please feel free. Okay,
I agree. That's what the questions I was asking, just that in general, I don't understand why being a group of 6 would give you more options and more affordability than being part of a larger city, and that's where my concern is, and that you'd be adding, I feel like it's probably a good assumption that 6 people are working super hard to do all the good things that you do, and so I think while it may not seem like a lot of extra work, the things that perhaps the people that are hired to specifically only do the things that we're helping the Housing Commission with, I think it is more of a benefit, but if not, I'd like to know that.
I would like more information on this too before the whole thing is still kind of muddy in my mind as to what the benefit would be to either of us.
Yeah, and for me specifically, I'm not really seeing what the benefit is to the city itself. I understand for the 6 employees to have some additional control, there are some things, but yeah, I'd be much more interested in hearing this is how this is going to benefit our community to do this.
Okay. I guess another thought occurs to me too, and I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but another idea occurs to me, since your board is appointed by the city manager, I believe is how the process works, who is accountable to this board. What role, if any, do we have of oversight with this whole process? Because we don't, I mean, quite honestly, you're popping up tonight is rather uncommon. We don't hear a lot from you, about you. I mean, you're an entity in our community that exists, provides this wonderful benefit to our citizens, and we appreciate that. should we be hearing more about this on a more regular basis? So should we be getting reports of any type of, is there oversight that you're doing that we are not aware of and need to be made aware of? So perhaps more conversation is in order to...
Well, that is one discussion that Eric and Craig and I had last week about what reports should be coming to this board. Because in the past, that's never been done.
No, if it ain't broke, I'll fix it, right? I mean, that's...
That's exactly it. I go,
Yeah.
from my standpoint of, what should I be doing to
Yeah,
bring
you're
it to
putting out a
you?
lot of fires, and that isn't on fire,
Yeah,
so...
yeah. Bringing to you, so you're comfortable and knowledgeable about what's going on, so. But we can sit down and talk about some of those things that you've brought up and we can come back there,
So we are willing to talk, and if we can explore things, find ways to make things better, I think you'll find a good reception here, so.
I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. All right. So we have a motion on the table not to receive that report, so if any additional comments, last chance. All those in favor of receipt, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion is carried, we received the report. Thank you very much, appreciate the conversation tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next on our agenda is appropriations. Is there any interest in paying the bills this evening?
Move to pay the appropriations.
Even though Curtis isn't here. Support. We have a motion support. Who has questions on the bills? I hear none. All those in favor of paying the appropriations, please say yes.
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 Any opposed, no. The motion is carried. Thank you. Commissioner comments. Roxanne, would you like to lead off tonight?
Yes, I would. I have a Gratiot Area Water Authority report, and our cameraman can please correct me if I've misheard or confused, because that happens. We discussed, and we're not meeting as often because most of the jobs, the big jobs are completed. The biggest thing that we're still working on is the security job pieces, both at the water authority plant, or water plant, and the wastewater treatment plant. Dave has sent out bids twice and gotten nothing back. So he has reached out to various people, and he discussed that we would like to separate the contractors for the windows, doors, and security from the rest. Is that? Okay. And also separating the wastewater plant from the water plant to see if different people would pick up if it's just one job. I mean, it seems, I'm not a contractor, obviously. However, it seems like if you're doing one, you might as well do both. But since no one bid, we're thinking that perhaps that might be a way to get some people to bid. So we recognize the importance of the security at both places, and Dave is working diligently on that, but just not getting anyone to give us bids on that. And we received, which I think we receive every 2 to 3 months, from the chemical supplier, that the costs have gone up again, and they just keep going up and up and up. So Dave said we expect that every couple of months we're gonna, I mean, we budget for a certain amount, but then they're allowed within the year of what we've agreed to every couple of months increase the cost of the chemicals. So we are going to meet again in November, and then we will have our yearly annual meeting, organizational meeting in January, and we will keep the regular meetings on the books, but if we have nothing to discuss or approve, we'll be canceling those. Anything, is that everything? Okay, good. Thank you. And I don't have any, I mean, thank you for coming. I would love to hear more. I honestly, truly, as far as the city, want what's best. I don't want to break something that's working well, and if you can show us how it would be more beneficial, then I certainly would take that into consideration. So, yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, before I move to Roger, could I ask a favor of you, Roxanne, in your water authority?
Yes.
I don't know if Eric and I, and probably Dave, has been in the conversation as well about that one new water tank at the water treatment plant. That is turning black. I mean, it's,
Dave does have some information.
okay.
Cameraman.
You got some answers already then, okay. I was just gonna ask Roxanne to take the question back to the board there.
I would like to have an answer for the date. Right now, we have a spec to work on to wash that, and we're reaching out to companies to find out if they're interested in bidding on that. So I will hope to have something done on that yet this fall, because that is something that can be done still in the fall months. So looking into, because I just don't want somebody to spray a pressure washer on there and damage anything. So I want to know PSI ratings, that type of thing, and also companies that can go high enough to clean it off, use the right chemicals, not do any damage on it. So I wish it was as simple as going out there with a scrub brush and a pressure washer, but plan is still to have that done this fall. I was hoping to have it done this summer, but that's where that is at.
And in conjunction with that, is there anything that can be done to prevent that from occurring in the future? Is there any coatings or?
Not that I'm aware of, but I can look into it. I don't know of anything. My first thought was to put it on a every 2-year rotation cycle, just to have it by every other year washing. It's kind of what I'm doing with the street striping, but that's definitely something we can look into. If there's a sealant that can be put on it or anything of that
Yeah,
nature.
I don't, just thought I'd bring it up because it's,
No, I was waiting,
Whenever I drive by
I was
there.
waiting for that one because we've been talking about it for the last 3 months, and it's like any project. There's some that are busy and there's other ones that are not very busy right now. So, thank you.
Before you sit down,
Roger, would you like to go?
where do we stand on the water tower?
The repainting and the control building, those are going to be done in 2 separate years. The control building is going to be done first. That'll be done in 2025.
Okay.
And the repainting of the tower will be done in 2026. Because of the amount of time it's going to take in that control building at the bottom, we want to have that existing decrepit building at the bottom of that removed first, because it's adjacent to the water tower. It's constructed right up to it. So I'm going to repaint it. That whole section will be blasted off, primered, and there's some electrical controls and monitoring software that has to be pulled from that. So 2025 and 2026.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Thank you, David. And Roxanne, thank you. Okay, Roger.
Thank you. I agree with Roxanne on the Housing Commission. I'd just like more information. When I first got this, what is this? Where'd this come from? What's going on here? You know, kind of thing. And so, anyhow, I was a little bit dismayed. I got a piece of mail last week. I mentioned this to Sarah the other day. A piece of mail last week that was a folded in half piece of white paper with no return address on it. There was a postage paid stamp, and it was addressed to Roger Allman, or current resident. And it was in my hand going into the trash bin, you know. And I thought, maybe I'll open this just for kicks. And when I opened it, it had the City of Alma seal on the top of it, and it was the notice about they're going to go and replace all of the water meters, and you need to set up an appointment, and if you don't set up the appointment, there are fines of up to $100 per billing cycle for not doing that. And if I was ready to throw it into the garbage, I'm wondering how many other people maybe were too. I don't know who was responsible for that going out with no heading at all on it.
There was no return?
Nothing, no. It was a folded, a white piece of paper, and it was sealed, taped shut on. But I think, you know, if there are going to be people who are not knowing that that's going to happen, maybe we ought to find out where exactly, whether the contractor sent that out or whether, and maybe they ought to send another one.
That's a pre-one. You'll get another one.
Okay.
Then you'll get another one.
Okay.
And then there'll be the last one.
Okay.
We just finished up the language on that one.
Okay.
It says you have this one, that's it, and
Okay.
or you will be subject to those fines we talked about.
Okay.
And disconnection of the water. So,
Okay.
no, that was a kind of a pre-letter
Okay.
to say,
An appetizer.
Yes.
because, well, they do, that's what happens, people throw things away.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk to them and get them to put something on the outside?
Yes, it was,
In
yes.
the return
It is,
address
yes.
area?
And it is.
Or just the city.
It is, it's,
Yeah.
that one, I don't know why there wasn't anything on the outside, Roger, but the ones that Dave and I have been working on,
Okay.
they're bright, they're
Okay, yeah,
loud.
this was white piece of paper.
Yeah.
Roger Allman, a current resident.
This one, the one's coming, will have the contractor's name, contact information,
Okay.
the either phone number, email, Yes,
Okay,
it's,
good.
you can't, if you throw it away, then this one I can understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
that's true, but the ones coming, no, and there's
Okay.
3 more to come.
Great, okay, thank you.
What else you got? Stump the panel, come on. You good?
I'm good, thank you.
Hey, Drew.
I'd also like to say thank you for the report tonight. Yeah, also just looking for more information and really wanting to see how this sort of a change would really benefit our residents and those seeking housing and that sort of thing. Also want to say congratulations to the Bruin Bites crew that put that on. That was a fun event, and always love to see events like that in the downtown, and it's a lot of work to put those on, and so I appreciate everybody that was involved in that. And congratulations to the library on their book sale, which looks like it's going fantastic so far. The number that I saw anyway already was very large, and it's continuing on, and very happy to see that money coming into our library. So, that's it.
Thank you. I would certainly echo those comments of everybody prior to this. Yeah, thank you for the information, and if we've been negligent in our oversight in any way in learning about what's going on in the Housing Commission, we apologize for that. If we should have known more about it and not been blindsided, as I think how Roger described it. Yeah, so our negligence is a factor here too, I would imagine, so. Yeah, nice to see some students joining us tonight, so welcome. Glad to have you guys here as well as everybody else that's in the audience. As you can imagine, sometimes we sit here with nobody in our chairs, so it's nice to see some bodies out there. Public interest is always good and appreciated, yes. Yeah, thanks to the Bruce and Bryce crew. I think that was the Young Professionals Network.
I think so.
Wasn't it Curtis and his group that put that up, along with probably the chamber, I'm sure was involved, and
Young professionals.
Greater Gratiot. I don't know who else involved in that, but yeah, good events.
Yeah, Sarah Bonacci and Ashley Tupper, a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, good crew, so thanks for that.
Enthusiastic crew.
Enthusiastic crew, yes. We young people, and we need that. Certainly need your young people. That's all I've got, so now we'll open the floor to members of the public. If anyone would like to address the commission, please go to the podium, state your name and address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to share your thoughts with this commission. Who would like to be first?
My name is Les Roseanne, and I reside here in Elma at 889 Mill Street. I read the agenda packet online today, and I was impressed at first with the speed enforcement or numbers on the street. My background in law enforcement, I had 2 big things that I really enjoyed doing. One was investigations, and the other one was traffic enforcement. And my question is, do you take data that is not, oh my God, I gotta slow down, slam on the brakes, and then you get that number? Is there any way that you could put something over there that is not designed to slow people down, and then you take the data from them seeing the thing, and you have some impressive things, red and blue lights and white lights, and I don't know that taking that data without a blind study or a placebo effect should be considered as, boy, we fixed the problem over there. If I was working traffic enforcement, I certainly didn't make myself visible. I mean, there's a difference between deterrence and enforcement. And those signs are deterrent, but you're kind of taking the numbers that you generate from that device and parlaying it into something without doing it differently. I think if you had, and I brought this up when the idea was to take a police officer over there and sit and do a thing, and you mentioned that. My question was that done in a marked car that was visible? I would assume it was. If you put that person in if there was no enforcement and you weren't going to chase anybody down and make a traffic stop, if you put them in a private vehicle parked on the street with a radar, you would have different numbers than you did with a marked police car there, because as soon as people see the police car, they slam on the brakes. I would just like, I don't know, I know those signs are older. I don't know if they could shut the display off and still collect the data. Don't know. But I think before you, I know Mr. Prout's been in here several times. I don't live over on Iowa Street. I'm not familiar with it, but I have seen problem areas, and your signs are a deterrent. The flashing blue lights, they are a deterrent. Really, the data they collect is after people have seen the signs and slammed on the brakes. So to say that, well, there's no problem over there because it's only a small percentage traveling over 35, if that sign wasn't there, I'm sure there would be a higher percentage of people, violators, going through there. So I would just like encourage you to do whatever to make sure you have accurate data before you publicize it too much and say, well, we did this and addressing Mr. Prout's concerns, we went over there and this is what we found. Well, if you didn't have the sign, the deterrent sign there, you probably would have different results. And I would just encourage you to do something a little bit more undercover.
Is that,
Discreet.
I know we're not supposed to ask questions, but could Les sit there in an unmarked car and run a,
I wouldn't do that.
no, I know, we get complaints about that.
I think there may be ways to change the protocols, as Mr. Roseanne has suggested, perhaps, you know, if you can turn off or cover the flashing lights and the numbers and whatnot. I mean, I'm not an expert in statistics by any stretch of the imagination, but probably there are things that could be done. You know, do a random unmarked car sitting there, send an officer with an unmarked car sitting there to validate the results that we're seeing or to disprove those results we're seeing. I'm sure there's a number of things we could do, and I'm sure that our police force, Chief Overland and her crew could probably design something that would, you know, give us some degree of, you know, maybe tell us how those things are working.
I wonder at what point the speed is captured.
Yeah, and I don't know that either.
It may be right at the
Yeah,
35
well, and the thing is, the fact that it sees you quite a ways away, I think it's capturing it before you get up there. Because
Yeah, where does
because
it record
goes-
it? Does it
Right,
record it when
right.
I'm a half a mile away, half a block
Right.
away, half a foot away?
How
Yeah,
much did you pay for these?
little nothing.
Yeah,
like
okay.
25
Yeah,
bucks.
So they're not going to be state-of-the-art new stuff.
No. But understanding how they work and where they capture that data might
Right.
make a difference. in
And
how
short
you
of
approach it.
having 20 extra police officers that we can just sit places, I think it's giving us some data that is, I mean, I appreciate your point of view, but I think it's better than nothing, and if we can get
It's a
more
deterrent.
information.
I
I
understand. As long as
understand, I
it's there,
understand that.
it's a deterrent.
Yeah, I understand.
Now, whether it would be the same if you take it out and it's
Right.
gone and you have something else that's not as obvious as that tracking. And there's probably things out there that exist, I don't know.
Yeah, and there's things that, you know, if you leave it there for a month and you're seeing people slow down, you're probably also seeing people choosing a different route after a while because they don't want to be near
But
that
it's
thing,
also
so-
like the signs on the road
Yeah.
that people start to not see because you become too familiar with it. I mean, when the old middle school was still there, I didn't know when you came down Downey that you couldn't turn left on Pine. I turned and then they said, well, there's a sign right there. I never saw the sign. I mean, so, and I drove by
That wasn't there very long.
but I drove that way regularly. We went to church and school at St. Mary's. I never saw that, because then I went around to look and see where the sign was, and it absolutely was there. So I think that people, and there are going to be people, I mean, I wasn't thumbing my nose at the law. I did not see the sign and didn't realize it, but there are going to be people that no matter what deterrents
Right.
are going to continue to be, I mean, and if it's deterring the people from hitting the gas as they drive in front of Lucer Road Elementary School, I'm happy that it's deterring them. But, yeah, I mean, we can,
But maybe Kendra can get some more information on how things are, how it works, and how she can validate it somehow. So how that team can take care of it for us. Yeah, they're smart, capable people. Who else would like to address the commission this evening? Any other members of the public? Anybody? Hearing none, or seeing none, I guess in this case, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn for the evening.
so moved.
Support. We have motion support. Last chance for comments or questions. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. And the motion is carried, and we are adjourned. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Have a safe drive home, or a safe walk home. Whatever mode you're using?